badass creators from around the net webs, around the internets, and talk to you guys about what they're doing and how they're growing their businesses, how you guys can do the same, right? And so today we're super excited. We're going to dive into the world of AI, a very, very popular topic, rather, when we're always asking you guys about what do you guys want to learn right now, right? Who do you want to learn from? Stuff like that. It's AI has been obviously a very, very popular thing, and so we're super excited to have Darby Rollins joining us, the AI writer, and we'll bring him up here in just a second. But let's just go ahead and we're gonna do the really quick kind of recap, the normal housekeeping type stuff here for Creator U. Those of you guys who are watching inside of the Creator U live app. Yeah, this is great. You guys at different points in the show, we might tell you to just refresh the page or something. You guys know we put resources and stuff down below the video. But there are some links down there. We'll get to all that kind of good stuff. But this is Creator U Live. This is what we're doing here. So again, who do we have today? We have Darby Rollins, right? So Darby is the AI author, and we're going to be talking about something that is unbelievably critical. You guys hear us talk about this all the time, right? Is that every single person inside of Creator U, right? You don't need to sell a big course is like the only thing you create and sell, and that's it, right? We talk about all the time about how every single one of you guys should be, even if it's your first product idea, if it's your 10th product idea, right? Should have bite size, easy to digest, easy to take in, offerings, books, downloads, mini offers, like that word, it gets tossed around a lot here inside of Creator U. And so, yeah, we're going to dive in, and Darby's going to show us exactly how he does that. He's even going to give away a couple of recipes that he uses with AI to make that happen. But we'll get to that in just a second here. The next week inside of Creator U, Darby also has a mini course, right? Actually going live, which this might actually be live already inside of Creator U. We'll have David confirm that one, but the AI author, right? And so again, the gist of this is going to be learn how to create a best-selling ebook with Jasper, right? How to use AI to spin up something that can boost your customer acquisition, that can turn more of your audience into paying subscribers, into paying customers, which of course then all the other stuff that we know about Creator U and how to use Sam Card and all that kind of stuff really kicks in, where I'm going to get more people in the door, and then I can turn around and maximize their average order value, turn around and max their customer lifetime value, right? And so how can we create and spin up assets very, very easily, very, very, very quickly, right? That are going to be just enormous levers for getting more customers in the door, getting more revenue, and more long-term profit out of your business, right? That's what this is all about. So that's what we're going to cover here today. That's what we have another mini. And then we have Rachel Peterson joining us on our next edition of Creator U Live is coming up on March 3rd, where she's going to talk about the TikTok success formula. So Rachel's somebody who's been in the social media game for a long time. Excited to have her on and talk about what's going on right this very second with TikTok, a platform we've talked about. We had Keith Krantz. We've got some other trainings about it, but one that changes a ton, right? And so we're super excited to dive into those things. But all of you guys, again, as Creator U Live subscribers, you are the only people welcome on these calls and the only people invited to these calls. So with that, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to bring up Darby, and we're going to jump right into it. So let me go ahead, and we got this coming on. Darby, can you hear me?
Can, Scott. Thank you so much.
We're all good, man. What's going on, dude? What's going on? Thanks for coming out. Thanks for spending your time. As we always like to reiterate, everybody, Creator U Live is invite only, and it's also, we don't pay people to be here. You know what I mean? So Darby is here out of a desire to share, a desire to teach, right? And a desire to get in front of you guys. So anyway, Darby, excited to chat, man. Let's talk to me about this. Let's do the your quick background on like who you are and who you serve, right? And then we'll dive into some of the AI stuff.
Totally, yeah. So a little bit on me. My name is Darby Rollins. I guess full-born entrepreneur since getting.
I took you down.
Yeah, so my name is Darby Rollins. I've been an entrepreneur, like kind of like testing out stuff in terms of like e-commerce and having my own products and following, Brian and Sam Cart for years, since probably 2016, 2017. And I was doing e-commerce consulting, Amazon copywriting, building Amazon listings for years. And I was getting to the point where I was getting like really burnt out and tired, and like had just so much writing to do and not enough time, and getting clients and juggling a lot as a freelancer. And all that frustration kind of came to a point when I was talking to my buddies, Dave and Austin, who got access to this tool called OpenAI a little over 2 years ago now, and they was like, hey, like we found this really cool AI tool. We're using it for ads. It's like, hey, could I try and use it for like Amazon stuff? They're like, cool, let's do it. And so at that point, end of December 2020, it became Jasper AI. Their very first customer. We got screenshots up with Dave and Slack getting started with them, and that was kind of like the starting, or really a pivotal turning point in January 2021, where I started to explore how I could use these different, or AI specifically, then it was called conversion AI, to help with writing some more content for my own business so I could get more clients. I was still a little bit stuck trying to figure out how to use this tool to really accomplish that. And I figured, well, I don't have a book. I've always wanted to write a book. And none of these other copywriters in the Amazon space have books on this subject. So specifically Amazon copywriting. So basically put my head down for over a weekend at the end of January 2021, and came out of it with about a 16,000 word, 100-page lead generation book called Amazon Copywriting Secrets that I used to get a few more clients under my belt. But that point in writing a book really showed me that, holy crap, we've got so much opportunity here in the world of AI for what we can actually use it for, not just in like writing a book and hitting the goal of like, hey, I'm a published author now, but what else is possible with this tool? And we were just at the very early stages of Jasper, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. All we were using was templates here. We didn't even have boss mode. We didn't have recipes, which is what we're going to go into. But that's where I kind of pivoted my business and decided to start exploring how I could help educate and train members of the Jasper community how to use Jasper for writing books, short ebooks, white papers, to people who have written fiction books with it all over the place. And so that's where the AI author came about. And yeah, even just last week coming into this, I'm super excited to be here with you guys at Creator U. Earlier this week, I was traveling to San Francisco. Jasper hosted the first generative AI conference. About 1,000 people there. They planned it in 4 months, and I would say it was a big hit. And some of the big takeaways I came off of that was, with where we're going, is that AI is really here and it's here to stay. And as creators and as entrepreneurs, it's giving us the ability to spend and reallocate our resources to things that are like helping us express our own unique content. A lot of fear of people saying, is AI going to take our creativity away, take our jobs? But no, there's the other side of the equation with this. If we know how to adapt and use and leverage AI in the right way, we can do it to unlock doors and opportunities to grow our business and just make our lives better in general. And so I'm super excited to share with you guys today. And I don't know, Scott, if you want me to kind of dive into what we're doing here, but that's kind of a little rundown about the last few years. Again, first Jasper customer. They have over 100,000 users now, and everything has blown up the last few months. But I've been in it since day one there, and it's exciting to see where this industry has come in such a short time, and where things are going to be in the next 6 months. Who knows? But now's the time to be learning this stuff and using it to
That's exactly right. Yeah, no, I love that. I'm going to flash a URL up here on the screen for you guys, right? If you guys want to, by the way, go follow Darby. You're at the AI author. Is that Twitter? Like where can they go follow?
Pretty much everywhere. My personal handle is at Darby A Rollins, but if you just go to the AI author, pretty much anywhere. YouTube's a great resource. Got tons of content on there. Website's theiauthor.com. All the social medias. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. We'll put all those links down below the show notes. You guys can go dive in and just follow Darby, who is in the weeds on all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you guys don't have to be the experts in AI, right? But following the right people can be an enormous leg up, because here's the truth, Darby, and I'm sure Darby agrees with me, right? But it's the idea that the whole AI thing, right? A lot of times we can look, and a lot of times we talk about fads and trends and things like that, and getting on those things is good, and to be the first person. We are in our infancy of what this is and what this can do for you guys as creators, right? And I don't know that there is a single more powerful use case, right, for AI stuff than us, like solo creators, people with maybe a small team, like that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, for us to multiply our productivity, for us to multiply our ideas, for us to, we had a big AI workshop I was telling Darby about before we hopped on. The last 3 days over on the Samcart side, we had a big AI for e-commerce workshop, right? And AI is really, truly the power behind it for all of you guys watching and with us here, right? Is idea generation, right? And how can you go from, staring at a blank page to having a ton of ideas, right? And then executing on those becomes just so incredibly easy. So let's do this really quick, right? Let's go ahead, Darby, let's have you share your screen. We're going to talk really quick. We're going to be working inside of Jasper, right? So Jasper is, I would say, the cream of the crop of the paid AI tools, right? It is the one we recommend the most here in Creator U. We've used and talked about in other videos. And so you guys can and should. I think, David, we even have a link we can have you guys use to go get Jasper if you don't have it or anything like that. I'm not going to go so far as to say that you have to use Jasper to do what we're going to show you guys here today. But basically, we're going to walk through, and Darby's just going to show us how inside of Jasper, inside of this one specific AI writing tool, that you guys could spin up an ebook, a mini offer, a course, a video script, something quick, short, easy in minutes, right? That you could turn around and sell. You could turn around and it's a new lead magnet. You could turn around and it's a new piece of content. Like, we're just going to literally walk through this process, right? And how to do that in a way that we know and are guaranteed on the other end that there's demand for what we're creating, which is the more important piece. You know what I mean? Like, there's going and writing something from AI, right? And copying and pasting like AI generated text can be, it's not the power of AI, right? The power of AI is knowing what to ask of the AI, knowing what you're looking for, knowing what you want back out of this. You know what I mean? And that's really the power of it. So anyway, Darby, with that, let's go ahead. We'll bring your screen up and let's just dive right in. I mean, we're just going to get right to this.
Cool. All right, let's do it. So I'm going to share my screen, guys. And if you don't know Jasper, just go through this aiauthor.com/cookbook. It's going to break everything down for getting started with Jasper. And what I'm going to be walking you guys through here specifically is a recipe, what we call as pre-built workflows around helping you create micro courses. And I think so. It's a really kind of preface before we dive in and start demonstrating how it works. Just because this says micro course doesn't mean that that's the end all be all, right? This could be a mini blog post outline. This could be for an ebook. You could expand it to like a longer book. But the key here is using the AI and leveraging it for idea generation, for outlining, and for expansion. And then you're going to add in your own voice and your own personality and your own unique touch to it. So
you guys here, really quick, Darby, let's do two things. Can you zoom in on your screen? Right. I just want to make sure that text is going to be nice and big and readable for everybody. Right. And again, when we're going to use the term recipe here a ton, right? A recipe is basically like I'm sure most people, not everybody here has probably messed with Jasper, right? Or seen other videos we have where we're messing with Jasper. But a recipe is basically like a template, right? For asking the AI something, okay? Because it's one thing to sit there and you're like, if everybody's ever messed around with Chat GPT or, whatever. You sit there and you're like, all right, what do I ask this thing? You know what I mean? Like, how to dance, monkey? You know what I mean? You're like prodding the AI, like, do something, A recipe is basically a pre-written prompt, a templatized, like ask, right? And so basically what we're looking at here is a Jasper recipe, and Darby, they can get this recipe, right, inside of the aiauthor.com/cookbook.
This actually came out after we released our, and so this is going to be kind of a separate bonus recipe that you guys should have now.
There we go. Okay, we'll get a link to that too. We'll make sure to drop that, David, underneath the video, maybe. I don't know. Put it in the chat, David, where you want me to put this, and I'll make sure we call this out. But yeah, that's what a recipe is. We're inside of Jasper, inside of an AI tool with a recipe, aka a template, to go and create. Again, I think that's a great call out, Darby, right? Micro course. Don't get thrown off by the term course, right? We have service sellers that take this same idea, right? And they're going to go and create essentially like a really killer premium little blog post or something, or it's a little mini ebook. It's 1 7-minute video that constitutes a micro course, or something kind of like that. And it's just meant to be a useful small piece of content that you can use to give away for free. You can use to sell and get customers. It's meant to help you attract your target audience, right? That's what this is. Awesome. All right. So yeah, Darby, take us away, man. Let's see what we got.
Let's do it, Scott, if you don't mind. I like having like a little interaction on here if you're open to it.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm learning.
And opening up this recipe, you'll be looking at exactly what we were talking about before. It's like a pre-built series of prompts. I call them commands as well, as you'll see inside of here. Inside of this this recipe, I'll be a little bit of just kind of the nuance and the syntax with this, but ultimately what it's going to come down to is before you do anything inside of this recipe, we're inside of boss mode, and we need to give the AI context first and foremost before we begin, because if the AI is very good at knowing a lot about a lot of generalized, our goal is to make it more specific and focusing on what's the primary goal, what's the outcome that we want to help people like lead them towards, and starting with the end in so that we know from steps 1 to steps that this is how we're going to help our prospects or clients or customers get that ideal result. And so the example I've outlined here, and we're going to use a different one for this demonstration, but we got your avatar and e-commerce seller and niche and a primary goal, increasing conversion commerce funnels. Now, to start this recipe, all you would do is take this, copy it into the content brief over here, and you get up to 600 characters. And so you've got some space to play with, and you're just going to fill it out with your own. And so, Scott, like maybe if you were going to be creating like a micro mini blog post to educate a certain customer,
For sure.
Yep. You have like an example that we could maybe start with in terms of like, who would the avatar be? What niche would they be in?
So the cheap one would be for me to do Sam Cart stuff, but let's go outside because I want to think probably something that's going to feel more relevant to all of you guys watching. And by the way, all of you guys that are watching, drop your niche, drop your avatar, your goal, whatever, like your version of this, drop it in the chat on the right, or it's on your right as you guys are looking at the screen, right? And maybe we could even do one of theirs, would be kind of cool, right? But I've been doing
happy to do one of theirs,
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say, you guys go ahead, drop that in the whatever your niche is, whatever, drop it like in the chat here, right? I'll go ahead. Let's do one really quick with one that's on the top of my head because there's like usually like a good 15 seconds between like that and when everybody can come back. One that's been on my head is golf, right? I've been doing golf examples with AI stuff literally all week. So if I was going to say my niche would be golf, my avatar is probably like, the young professional amateur golfer, you know what I mean? Like some young guy like me with a job, but is like a total amateur golfer. How's that? We'll go with that. And we'll say the primary goal maybe at that point would be like somebody who is, somebody who's going to like add 25 yards to their drive.
Perfect. And a good teaching point here, when you guys are laying out your avatar and your niche, your primary goal, try to keep it between like 2 to 3 words, a more broad sense. And you might need to like tweak things up depending on how they are coming out. Because this is going to have a lot of impact and weight on like the type of outputs that we're going to be getting. And so in this case, it's a young amateur golfer in the golf niche, and they want to add 25 yards.
We got some good niches coming in from those in the chat. We'll circle back, but we'll let you keep running with this one.
Let's do it. And we can go back through and demonstrate it with a bunch of different niches as well. And tone of voice is a big impact here too. And we find that this one, I don't know how we stumbled across it, but it's just young, emotional, visceral emotional language ends up just giving a little more like color and to the outputs from Jasper. And so once you've got this set up on the left-hand side, next thing I want you to just kind of like take a look at, so you get an idea from the top down. This is the general structure of how this recipe operates. These are all individualized prompts by themselves, but you might have heard the term prompt engineering, and that's essentially what we're doing here with giving them more content, with developing these prompts, and then we're going to be building the content brief out with ideas and with the outline to go about it here. But all we need to do, we don't even have an idea when we're coming into this. All we need is the avatar, niche, and primary goal, and then I'm going to come down here. Now, I call these commands. You can interchange that with prompt. But these are what I'm going to be telling Jasper, like, hey, write me 10 ideas for a blog. I was trying to get this could be course for a book. Is it just to give Jasper an idea? I need some ideas, Jasper. So I'm going to go ahead. All I'm going to do is click compose. This compose button, you can do Control J to get the same result. But the idea here is like, okay, what would be like a relevant piece of content that I could use, and use Jasper as an ideation machine to guys and then choose this makes sense, that doesn't make sense, and what do I want this like micro course piece of content around.
So here's the really cool part for any of you guys who are kind of watching the AI do its thing here, right? Is AI is only as useful as what you tell it to do, right? And so basically, if you can, anybody who has not messed with Jasper, even somebody who might not be that familiar with AI, or you're not that talented with it, you've been meaning to check it out. All we basically did was, hey, AI, I'm talking to young amateur golfers, right? The niche is golf. And what I want them to do is add 25 yards to their drive, right? And then that tone box over there is basically saying, like, let's give some other examples, Darby, by like, we said, give us visceral emotional language. A lot of times, maybe somebody would interpret that as saying like marketing speak. You know what I mean? Like I want something that's going to grab someone's attention. I want something that's grabby and has a hook and, whatever. You might have replaced that with the tone of voice that's like calm, right? Or scholarly, or you know, like you could even probably write like elementary language or something, right? Yeah.
You can change it first person, third person, speak like a fifth grader, empathetic. You can use celebrities over here. Like Jerry Seinfeld's going to have a little bit more comedic side to it, as funny as AI can get.
Right.
Or it's going to be on another side of like a little more empathetic,
right,
compassionate, analytical, a little bit more structured, right?
For sure. By the way, really quick, Darby, I'll just give a shout out. We had Mel in the comments said, "Oh my God, that download is the bomb, a true roadmap." So anybody who hasn't gotten it already, again, we're just leaving the URL up here on the screen. You guys can go get the aiauthor.com/cookbook and work through. It's just a free download from Darby. It's extremely educational, you know what I mean? You're walking through and sharing more stuff, so you guys definitely go check that out from Darby. But
yeah, and there's dozens of these recipes in there that you can use for all sorts of things, from books to creating a $100 million offer and everything like that. So
dig it. Awesome. Okay, cool. All right, so let's get back to the ideas. So here is the AI has now spit out 10 ideas for a blog related to young amateur golfers in golf who want to add 25 yards to their drive. That's what we just did.
And I don't know if there's a professor that you'd want to like bring in on the tone side or a golf analysis, but that would make a lot of sense for something like this. Yeah. Is there a name in the golf space of mind for you that would be influential?
We'll toss in I don't know. Let's go with Jordan Spieth. So it's Jordan is spelled very normally. Spieth is Spieth. I don't know if you like golf or not. If not, it's like yeah. So again, what is Darby doing here? We're training the AI and giving the AI more context, right? We're basically saying, okay, cool. This is the type stuff we want. I want this to sound like visceral emotional language. I want this to sound like Joe Rogan. I want this to incorporate names of professional golfers. You know what I mean? Like you're zeroing in on your market and your audience, right? And giving the AI more direction. So it's not scanning the whole internet for information. It's like you're helping it kind of niche down and provide more targeted, more related kind of wording and feedback.
Absolutely. And so after you do this and after you generate your first round of ideas, you can always go back and regenerate more ideas and regenerate more, right? And then analyze those outputs and then make the decision on what you're going to do next. So you notice here we added Jordan Spieth and analyzing Jordan Spieth's swing to help you add 25 yards to your drive. That might actually be a really good idea.
Literally, the moment that popped up, I thought that's probably your winner. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty good. Like such an awesome, specific, tiny little thing. And again, what's the goal that we're trying to do here, right? We are using AI here to create a small piece of content that either you can decide to give away as free lead magnet type stuff. You can publish it on social media and just it becomes a YouTube video. It can turn it into a mini course, a single video, a quick ebook, something that you could sell and boost your customer acquisition, turn more followers into paying customers, right? And so what are we trying to do? We're trying to create something small, something bite-sized, right? And I love that first idea. Analyzing Jordan Spieth's swing to help you add 25 yards to your drive. I think that's pretty sweet. Yep.
I like that one. So let's go ahead and try that. And again, like you've got the ideas, so no need to get rid of them necessarily. You could always come back and do the exact same thing we're going to go through with 5 essential tips for golf amateurs. And that could be your short video, right? Like there's a lot of ways that now that you've got your idea, the next section of this recipe, anytime you see these blinders, like the 3 asterisks or longer, that just means that Jasper's not going to reference anything up here, but it's still going to be pulling from the content brief so long as you have the toggle on. If you don't want it to reference this, turn it off. But for this recipe, we do.
And here's a really cool.
So when I copy that,
I was gonna say I don't want to like blitz past that because that one thing is very, very cool, right? Most people think AI is to ask a question and move on, ask a question and move on, right? What we're doing here is I call this like progressive prompts, right? Where we're going to ask a question and then the next question I ask, the AI remembers what I already asked, right? And it's going to reference what's above. Like that's what we just did. That one little toggle up there at the top is a really, really important thing, whether you're using Jasper or whether you're using ChatGPT. Like it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like we are, of course, right now here using Jasper to walk through this. And if you guys go get Darby's book, the aiauthor.com/cookbook, you guys will get a lot of these recipes that Darby references inside of Jasper and can go check that out. But anyway, yeah, progressive, going from one thing to the next while the AI remembers what you've already done or remembers what you're about to highlight is super, super important. And this is where the real power gets unlocked.
And so as we're moving down here in these chins, we want to format and keep giving Jasper the most relevant context. So what I'm going to do now because I want the idea to be consistent throughout. I'm going to add it here to idea, and I'm just going to go ahead and make the name in the upper left-hand corner of this document. I'm going to make the name. So now Jasper is going to be referencing this again, and it's also going to help you keep organized inside of your documents. But for the next stage of this recipe, part 2, if you will, is now we're going to want to have Jasper help us with writing an article related about this idea related to our avatar in this niche. Who wants the primary goals? Very specific here. And so what I instructed it to do with this prompt is write this as an introduction to this topic, followed by a blog outline based on idea. And so from here, again, I'm just going to go ahead and click compose, and we'll see what Jasper comes up with. As an aspiring golfer, do you ever wonder why Jordan Spieth's drive is so impressive? He consistently hits the ball further than most of his peers on the tour and has won multiple major championships as a result. If you want to add 25 yards to your drive like Jordan Spieth, then look no further. And this is the first round as well. So I'm not saying there's not going to be any edits here, and there will, because sometimes, it doesn't necessarily isn't going to be your perfect home voice, but this is a good start, I would say, for introduce your video, introduce your course, and then these blog outline, again, course models, right? It could be a chapter of your book. It could be the whole outline for your book if it's a mini book. You got interest in analyzing the swing, breaking down the mechanics of a golf swing. What are the different elements that contribute to distance? Examine Jordan Spieth's swing. So okay, I like those ideas, or maybe if you don't like it, I like to save them if I'm kind of on the fence. You can just come back up here, click your cursor, and Jasper's already understanding it's on this pattern of I'm writing a blog outline. I've already written the introduction, and now, especially for types of content that we're creating here, you don't really need more than 4 or 5 sections. Right? The goal isn't to overwhelm and give a fire hose of information. It's to be quick, clear, concise, and educational, right, to whoever you're doing this for, and then it's going to lead them to the next step of
Love that.
Whatever you have to offer.
Love that. So, one thing that I know, because I know we're going to get this question, and by the way, you guys have questions, you guys have anything, drop it in the chat to the right of this live stream. For those of you guys who are watching inside of the Creator U app, there are a very small handful of you guys watching on YouTube. You might be able to drop something in the chat on the unlisted YouTube play, but I'm not 100% sure. The best way to get your questions answered is to log into Creator U and ask in the chat over there on the right. But I know we're definitely going to get the question of how long should something like this be, right? How many words, how many pages, how many whatever, right? And to Darby's point, don't think about length being what's going to make or break this, right? What's going to make or break this is that your idea, your title, your hook, right? Is something your audience cares about, right? That is what's going to make or break this. Honestly, if I had to spend 90% of the time making sure that the idea and the title that I went out there with was it versus 10% on filling everything out and kind of delivering on that, I would spend the time on the title. You know what I mean? Making sure that my audience really cares about what I can learn from Jordan Spieth that's going to help my drive, which to me is an absolute winner. And AI came up with that for us in 10 seconds. It was literally the first option, right? But yeah, don't necessarily don't get caught up thinking, should it be 5 parts or 2 chapters, or is it 1 video? Is it 10 pages? It doesn't matter, right? Is way, way more important that the idea you're starting with, right, is something your audience wants.
Absolutely. So it sounds like this one might have been a little bit more on point for where we want to build this up from. So is this lady you got?
Yeah, it looks really solid to me. And this is the part where, remember the pitfalls of AI, okay? Those of you guys who haven't messed around with AI very much, every once in a while, AI is going to do, if this is a 6-part blog outline, right, or whatever, course outline, book outline, whatever you want to call this thing, right? Then you might have 1 or 2 that are weird. You know what I mean? And all you got to do, let's just say, let's try this out, Darby. We're talking about golf, right? Every once in a while, ChatGPT or whatever, the AI behind it, right? GPT being the AI behind it, is going to pull in something that isn't what you're looking for, but it thinks it's related. You know what I mean? It's misreading some words on the internet. It's talking about, we're here talking about drives, but maybe it's going to throw in something about putting or getting, things like that. So if I said, all right, cool, you know what, Darby, number 4 there, improving your drive with Jordan Spieth swing principles. I don't like that one. What do we do?
Well, we could just have Jasper go off starting from the 3rd and have it start from there again and give us another idea.
Yep, love that.
So implementing the strategies, conclusion, final thoughts.
Yep.
A
Love
very
it.
good point to bring, because like you are ultimately the one that's in charge of choosing
Yeah,
what makes and what doesn't. And so
absolutely.
don't think that AI is going to start like coming out with all the original thought for you. That's just not going to be the case.
For sure.
It's very collaborative in terms of your approach to the back and
Yeah.
forth here.
I love that. And remember, like, you're in control. Like, even Corinne asked a question, right? I think it's a great question to answer here, right? She said, authenticity is so important to me as a creator. What are your thoughts, right? I'm sure Corinne is referencing the idea of, okay, is it inauthentic for us to be using AI to generate this kind of stuff? It's quote unquote not my work. Well, Corinne, the answer is you're the one in charge of what the final product is, right? I completely agree with the sentiment, and that's why we never, ever, ever recommend don't copy and paste something from AI and put it out there into the world. You know what I mean? We are already, I mean, how many different times has Darby put his thumbprint on what we're doing here? And it's your job to do the same thing. You know what I mean? The AI is a great tool to get ideas going. It's a great tool to even get you 80% of the way there, right? But at the end of the day, the quality and the final product that you put out there, right, has to have your fingerprints all over it. You know what I mean? And that can be, we're going to take things out and we're going to redirect the AI. We're going to, hey, I don't like that one, try again, right? Or it's, the specifics, the nuts and bolts of what's going to flush this thing out. You know what I mean? It is you and your expertise and your experience. You know what I mean? So yeah, great question, Corinne. I love that too. I think it's the importance of not taking the AI's first go at it. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times it's going to require a level of correction, and certainly as experts, we should be inserting ourselves there.
Yeah. And on that same note is that because like before AI, like most of our time was spent on like the composition of a lot of like writing it out and like actually doing it and running into writer's block. Well, if you take that out of the equation, now we have the ability to like redistribute our time and where we're putting
Mm,
our focus and our own human abilities to the ideation, to the researching, to the editing, to the distribution, which is
so good.
like massive, like a massive importance or something like this. But if you have a bad idea and you have bad research going into it, you're going to get bad outputs from the AI because you're putting bad stuff in. But if you spend more time going through the ideation, you can use AI for ideation, but you're developing the ideas, you're bringing in research, you're spending more time doing maybe interviews with other creators and taking their
Yep.
perspectives and bringing that into AI. Now you can now suddenly write much faster because you've done that stuff beforehand, and you can pass it off your team that's now, they're not having to write and slug through the content mill of writing every day. Now they're being editors. They can like put more fine tunings on things. Then you can distribute it so it actually gets in front of more people instead of, again, sitting at a blank page and like, dang, I don't have any, like, I don't even know where to start. Right. And
I
so
love it.
just think about redistribution of where we're able to put our own resources.
Yes, absolutely. Love it. Okay, awesome. So now here we are. We're at this point. I like the outline. Everything looks solid. You know what I mean? This is
Mhm.
more than I need, right, to start working my way through and wrapping up this, again, we'll call it a mini course, right? For what to say. Let's
Yeah.
just assume we are writing an outline right now for something that I'm going to take and make, I don't know, I'm going to make it into one quick video and a PDF, and that's going to be my mini course. I'm going to sell this thing, right? So anyway, we're here. We've got an outline. What's next?
Cool. So next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to format your out here to how I've got it structured on this front with how this specific recipe is made. So you're just going to the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 with your outline introduction 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'll show you why here in just a second. But you're just going to copy and paste the winning outline
So
down
O1 is
here.
outline number one.
Yeah,
O2 is point two of my outline. O3 is point three of my outline. Right.
exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
So we got 4,
So again, yeah,
we got 5.
while
Yeah.
Darby is copy and pasting this stuff, right? Again, remember the idea here is one of the biggest powers, I think, behind something like Jasper, right? Again, a paid AI tool. That's what we're using right here over some of the other ones that you can do for free, right? ChatGPT is probably the most popular, the single most popular, is the ability to kind of like this recipe here, you know what I mean? That we're working off of is, and again, you guys can get this and a bunch of recipes as well inside of Darby has a free download. The URL's on the screen. We're leaving it up here. Go get it. Already multiple people have commented on how high quality it is. So well done, Darby. But is these recipes, these kind of like done for you, follow the blanks. It's almost like a mad gab. You know what I mean? Like a recipe is a template for you guys to create and ideate even faster, right? So, okay, cool. So now we've got our outline pieces in here, right? We added a sixth because,
So,
we've got 6. What's next?
and what I've done now, you don't, if for this specific recipe, and to keep in mind is that the content brief is something that we're going to modify and adjust as we like go from broad view, like 10,000 foot view of what we're building here, to a more narrow focused on each bucket of content, which is going to be the outline part 1, part 2, all the way here. But if you run out of like room, 591 out of 600 character side, I just cut off. It almost got all of it, but I just took away the conclusion, tips, taking the game to the next level with that analysis. But I still want to keep the primary goal and all that stuff up here. And we could remove some of these and only focus on one, depending on how you're approaching the content. More longer form content is you're going to want to focus more on like expanding and literally kind of like what we just did. You can do the exact same thing for each chapter of your book process. And as I approach like ebooks, like whatever, any sort of like content is, like especially in the form of like book or micro courses, you're wanting to get someone leading them towards an outcome that they want. Yep. And so if each chapter or each section of your video or your course is like a bucket that they can walk away and say, oh, I have an actual item, I can take that and I can run with it, and I can get a result that helps me get onto this phase 2, phase 3. So you're stepping them across the pond all the way there. But now what are we looking at? We're looking at, let me see, write a blog post. Yep. So what we're looking at here in the third part of this recipe is what I call command stacking. And this is where we've given Jasper our engineered prompts, so to speak. And then we've got all this additional context, but each one of these is an instruction for Jasper in its own right. As you can write a blog for O1 that will be used here, and then write a introducing the content. Now, since this is kind of like a course, it was made for that initially. The reason and difference between like a blog versus article, these are kind of like ways that you would either like introduce your content or have it be like an introduction inside of your video. And so we're just knocking that out here, and then we would want to expand from that point. But because we set it up C5 and the 5 parts of your outline, all you need to do now is put your cursor here at the end of and click compose. And I want to make sure that Jasper's following the right sort of structure and sequence. And so I'm keeping an eye out for it starting blog, because that's the first thing. Write a blog for O1. Jasper goes blog for O1. Jordan Spieth is one of the best golfers in the world. There's no denying his incredible ability to generate power from his swing. In this blog post, in this module, in this video, break down exactly what you want to do here to add 25 yards to your drive, right? And so the first section, and really this recipe ran, I would start first by writing it on your outline, and then we can go back in and like really focus on each individual section of the recipe for as deep as we want to go. And an important thing to highlight for this coming in, like, oh, do I have a script to be perfect with it? A lot of that's up to you. A lot of people who are like course creators or content creators in general, they'll get an outline and they'll get a general idea of what they want to talk about. And you might have in your head, if you're an expert already, it's like tip number 1, do this. Tip number 2, do this. Tip number 3, do this. Oh, cool. We wrap that up. Now section number 2, the mechanics of the mechanics of a golf swing and how the X, Y, or Z, right? And so this is giving us, again, like a very, very quick way to start writing and building an outline for an idea, expanding on that outline for an idea. And all I'm doing right now is clicking compose and getting that get expanded on. Now, obviously, like we're demonstrating this here, read the content. Is it in line with what you want to be writing? Is it not? Do you want to add, some additional direction? If you want to rerun, let's say blog for 3, you just like, oh, I didn't like that output. Jasper, no, thank you. I'm going to start my cursor here because Jasper's recognizing the pattern of what we're already doing. And it's going to start expanding on that as well for blog 3. Here's an introduction for it. Blog 4, and so on and so forth. And we just wrap things up going to the end of this content. And then again, this is all a first draft. I'm not going to go and just like read this stuff off verbatim as it is right now and assume that that's just going to be a perfect video set, right? It's all part of the process. But instead of maybe taking an hour to come up with this on our own, so to speak, it's taken us 5 minutes.
Yeah,
right. And now we can take the time
this is saving, even if all this content that we're seeing is like not final form. You know what I mean? Even if I had to reword or rewrite some of this stuff, even if I had to rewrite half of it, think of the time you're saving doing this kind of stuff. That's where, as I've messed around more and more with AI, that is to me the single biggest benefit of all this stuff is just getting your first rough draft out of the way. Because here's the truth: your first rough draft sucks too, right? Everyone's first draft kind of sucks. And so the idea here is, why not let a computer write yours first, okay? And then let it ideate on top of that. Let it come up with more things. Here's what I know I do a lot. Darby, tell me if you do the same thing. And by the way, guys, you guys have any questions, you guys want to see more of this stuff, drop your questions in the chat to the right hand, the embedded chat on the right side of the live here. But what I always end up doing when I'm using AI is I always end up having a spreadsheet open in a new tab, right? Because inevitably, as I'm getting, hey, if we went back up to the top of that recipe and it's give me ideas, you know what I mean? Like, I want 25 yards to add to your drive and it's this, and cool. I ended up choosing Jordan Spieth's, analyzing his swing to add 25 yards to your drive. But if I like 2 or 3 others, I need to copy and paste them somewhere else, because I can come back and run this whole exercise again with a slightly different topic and get a whole new piece of content, a whole new mini book, a whole new mini course, a whole new, all that kind of stuff. And as you go through this, right, and Jasper starts writing paragraphs and starts writing bullet points and, whatever, filling this whole thing out and getting to like the meat of what you're doing, all it's going to do is give you more ideas to go execute on, right? You don't have to keep everything. The importance is, right, we don't ever take its first draft at cement value. You know what I mean? Like, it's not done. It's half baked, and it's up to you to take it from there. But yeah, anyway, I love watching how quickly big, huge, like, chunks and walls of text can get made. It's just like, it's music to my ears as somebody who writes for a living.
Yeah, no, it's really great at how it can relieve a lot of like the stress of just having like no ideas to like work off of, and like you're just kind of like struggling to do that. And like a lot of tools so you can use, it doesn't have to just be Jasper, and a lot of what we're talking about you can apply to ChatGPT.
Sure, totally. Yep.
So just so people, like, as they're going through that, like, I mean, a lot of how we're approaching here, like, operates with how a lot of the AIs do operate. So it's more of like, okay, how do we think about it? Are we making the right choices? Are we coming in with like an understanding of who we're serving in mind, so that we know that this is actually something they're gonna want to buy? And so like you can spend more time doing that customer research and make sure that, oh, they're actually gonna like want to watch videos like this, instead of just putting out 50 blogs a week that are just junk because they're just super generalized, like, and there's people that play that game. And I especially like, as solopreneurs and us, like, scaling ourselves, these tools are really great for that. And by improving and extending our abilities on thinking with them, it's going to give us that much more power and leverage over this technology.
Heck yeah. Yeah. That's actually a great point. There are 2 questions I just wanted to ask here. Linda and Mel both referenced, that Jasper, again, we're talking about Jasper. So Jasper is an AI tool. I think it is the best of the paid AI tools right at this point in time. And I don't think it's particularly close, right? So if you're thinking about using a paid AI tool, we highly recommend Jasper. Again, there's links inside of Creator U. We'll get you guys links and put it below this video if you guys want to go get a trial. Mel and somebody else also mentioned the whole idea that, okay, cool, their lowest plan is $49 a month right now and has a 50,000 word counter, right? How does that work? Like, how do they enforce 50,000 words?
Let me double check that, because I think it's $59 a month. I just want to make sure.
It might.
I'll share.
It might have changed at that point. Yeah.
I'm gonna share. Yeah, there's a few different plans in terms of how Jasper does operate, and I think they've actually sunsetted their starter plan, and so you really only can access like the boss mode. And then business was some big announcements coming with that. But it looks like they did update. So yeah, as of right now, $49 a month, 50,000 words. Those words are credits. And so as you scale up your credits and you're generating more content, Jasper, 70,000 words, 82 a month estimate, 300,000 words, It's just going to scale up from there. But like generally, like 50,000 words, it really depends on how much content you're generating. But when you're in Jasper, and I happen to be on an unlimited plan because it's back when they initially had that plan for the early days.
Client number one, you know?
Yeah, I guess you could say so. But one of the cool things that they have in as a feature for people generating credits, anytime you generate a word inside of Jasper, and I'll just maybe show an example so you can see how to save yourself some credits, because I don't think as many people know that you can do this in Jasper. Let's just say I wanted to expand and just compose and say, all right, Jasper, continue. Blog 4. And it puts out something that's like, that's just not good. Like, and I don't like that at all. You go down here, bottom left right now, you see the thumbs up, thumbs down. If you do poor completion, Jasper's going to refund you some credits. I think there's like some like limitation. You can't just like do that all day and then.
Yeah, I'm sure you can't do that every single time.
But but Jasper does tend to give pretty good outputs like on that front. And they spend a lot in terms of like the training on the back end of what they're doing so that you are getting better credits, but just be aware of that you can save yourself some credits on that front.
Yeah, for sure. Easily. Yeah. So one thing to keep in mind, you know what I mean, is one of the reasons why, and I think this recipe in particular is really, really strong, right? That Darby was walking us through, which again, you guys can go get. The URL's on the screen, go grab it, free download from Darby. And has that recipe or a link to that recipe inside of it, or we'll get it after the video.
This one,
it's got a bunch of other
ones. This one doesn't, but yeah.
It's got a bunch of other ones, and we'll get the link to the one specifically we were just using here in a touch. But one of the biggest benefits is, you know, if you wanted to, right? If you wanted to sit down and write a 4,000 word blog post, some mega thing, or it's a big long video script, or it's a whole course, it's whatever, you certainly can do that and have AI write every ounce of it. But there's also a lot of power in going into saying like, hey, no, just help me come up with an idea, help me come up with an outline, and I'm going to do the rest. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to fill in the rest. Like you can kind of stop where you want. You know what I mean? And I'm guessing all the work that we just did in the last, 40 minutes here or whatever, was probably about, I don't know, what would you say? Maybe 1,000 words ish?
Check. We generated about probably close to, I would say probably 600, 700 words.
Okay, yeah. So it's probably not even that much. You know what I mean? So for those of you guys who want to step, you're trying to just get your foot wet. You're trying to like dip a toe in here and get a sense of it. Like somebody was even mentioning before there, what was it? I'm looking for a great name. It was Mel. Mel said the same thing, right? So looking for a great name for my ebook. I'm a franchise consultant, right? And so listen, Mel, if all you want to do is step in there and, hey, help me come up with my idea is, my niche is franchise owners or people interested in being a franchise. My idea is,
well, we can show this if you want to.
Let's try. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do the beginning. And just, if you want to just step in and just get some ideas for an ebook, just the title, you didn't want to do anything. I mean, you could step in and do that in no time whatsoever. So here, we'll go ahead and bring this up.
So let's go back up. Say like avatar. What was it? Where I guess that was the question. The niche is like financial. What was it?
Yeah, for sure. Yep. So this is
franchise consultant.
Franchise consultant. Yeah. So Mel, you might, if you're still with us, go ahead and drop them in the chat. By the way, give me an idea, Mel. Like, what is your? Okay, like you're a franchise consultant. So who is your avatar? Your niche is probably franchise consultants. What is the primary goal?
Franchisees, maybe.
Right. Yeah. And we'll plug these things in and see what we get. So, is the goal that you're trying to talk to people about, hey, invest in a franchise because that's like a good financial decision in your life? Are you talking to people who already own a franchise and they're saying, here's how to run it better? It's like there's kind of a lot of different kind of primary goals you could probably offer there. But I'd be curious if you drop yours in the chat. And I know she was just here in a second ago. So we got good other questions coming in while we're waiting for Mel to come back on that one. So one of the things that Jade asked, right? She was like, when you have the outline, right? And you had kind of like outline 1, outline 2, outline 3, like the bullet points of your outline. Did you use the Jasper suggestions for the sentences on the left? So she's saying, we then copy and pasted some outline bullet points and put them in the description, the content brief over there on the left. Did we use what Jasper gave us and paste those back over onto the left? That was the question.
For these, like the bullets onto the left?
Yeah. For when we had like 01 through 05.
Yeah. But what I did was we ended up taking these 5 as the example. And so I took those and I just formatted them with the stack that was right here, and I added them in to the end. Now, what you will find, in like something to note with Jasper, is that Jasper's only going to look up about, like, in terms of like what it can see up here from when you're running like any sort of like command down here, about 3,000 characters or so. And same can be true with like, as you might find that as you're like writing maybe a more like elaborate outline and more that it could end to be like get a little bit off track and a little bit less focused. When that happens, we want to modify the content brief to just be really more specific, dial it in. All right, we're focusing on this. Okay, got it. Now let me move on to the next section.
For sure.
And then you would just do individually each outline. You could literally like just run each one of these as like a command in their own, and format it to where each chapter was above it. So it's kind of free form to some degree, and the recipe is supposed to give you like a good roadmap for filling it out. But there are many ways to get like similar sort of outcomes from this recipe.
Love it. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Yeah. So here's Mel's primary goal, right? Is get people clarity as to what they want to invest in. So maybe we're talking to people who are already interested in becoming a franchise owner, right? And they're just trying to get some clarity, right? About where should they invest their cash, what franchise, or
first time franchise owner.
First time franchise owner. There we go. This is a whole new world for me. Mel, this would be a very interesting thing to talk about. Honestly, not my world.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of content here. We're scrolling back through. I'm just going to leave some of it for now. But basically, you would just change your avatar niche primary goal. I'm going to remove Jordan Spieth because it's not going to make as much sense for franchise consulting. Yeah. But now from here, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to say book, idea, title, or something like this, like title, brainstorm. Right? And so write 10 ideas for a book related to avatar niche with primary goal. Click compose. How to secure clarity as a first-time franchisee, a guide to making the right investment decisions, essential steps, finding a way in the world of franchising.
Oh man, I like creative investing made easy. That's kind of fun.
Step-by-step guide for franchisees. He's like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, and now here's a way that you guys can unpack this even more and more. So like, okay, that's a really interesting angle, but like I want to brainstorm it a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove a number because I don't want Jasper to go straight listicle starting at 4. I'm going to add these dots. The asterisk is a blinder up here, so it's not referencing this necessarily. But I'm going to add this here, and then I'm going to say write 10 ideas of variations of this title for a book. Get creative and think outside the box. Like when I'm talking to Jasper here, and a way that you guys can keep even your own tone is like, think of it as you're talking to somebody that is like on the other side of a coffee table for you, and like, I want you to do this for me as well. And if they don't like it, you just put the thumbs down, and like that's the case. But get like specific with what you're looking for. And now saying invest with clarity, the blueprint franchisees, creative strategies for smart investing, navigating the uncharted waters of franchising, right? So literally like the most powerful brainstorm machine that we can talk about here. And it's giving me ideas for all sorts of content. Maybe this isn't a book. Maybe this is expert tips. Maybe this is a Twitter thread that you're like, oh yeah, I would crush that as a Twitter thread right there. But here's something that I think whenever I started figuring out that you could actually like talk to Jasper, like literally, this is how you would do it. You'd get like a voice dictation tool. I think most computers have them built into them. I have a called Voice In on my Chrome extension, if you're interested in one specifically. But if you're using voice dictation to write with Jasper, you can actually have, and if you're feeling stuck, even if Jasper is not giving you content. So I'm going to go ahead and click my voice in, say, I'm writing a blog post that's going to be turned into a book about this topic, and I need some creative ideas for a book that will attract more clients for me. Write out 5 ideas and then give me a quick blurb about each idea as to how it relates to this customer. Right? I just wrote this, and I'm going to give compose, and now Jasper's giving me this, and it's giving me a little bit of a blurb, right? And this is where like the talking and writing with Jasper like comes into play, because as you start to write and expand on your own content, you may very well find that like, oh, like Jasper's just like struggling right now. That doesn't mean you can't write. It doesn't mean you can't type.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't mean you can't speak what you're trying to say with Jasper. And so like that's a tip that I found helpful for just in general, just like if you're stuck to and you just want to talk something out for a chapter, or you get an outline idea. 10 tips for golfing with Jordan Spieth on at the beach. Right. Tip number 1. Donate $100,000 to Jordan Spieth's like nonprofit campaign, like, or whatever. But like that's a good way that I've found to like kind of circumvent, even if you're like struggling with like, how do I type this word out? Well, you can speak a lot faster than you can type. And then you can have Jasper rewrite the content that you speak and expand on the content that you speak. So just a tip there.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, guys, we have about 20 minutes left. So number one, if you guys have been with us this entire time, if you guys are enjoying this, give our boy, give Darby a shout out in the comments real quick, and just let us know if you've enjoyed this dive into AI and having AI start to write specifically, right? Writing, I'll call this like front end content. That's what I always think about, is content that's designed to either bring customers or designed to bring, you're going to give something away for email subscribers. You're going to give something like, obviously this could be applied all over the board, right? But if you guys are enjoying this, give us a hell yes in the comments over there, and give us also a little shout out if you guys notice that our mics make this cool little heart because of how it's like. You guys notice that too. And if somebody asked a question, or it was Connor in the chat said, "What is the difference between Jasper and ChatGPT?" He was just kind of diving in here, like join us a little late, right? Again, we're talking about Jasper is what I believe, right? And Connor, Darby's been using them for a long time. Is Jasper is the best of the paid AI tools on the market right now, right? And so ChatGPT is, I'll say, ChatGPT is fun, and like your parents can use it. You know what I mean? Like you could probably sit a grandparent down in front of ChatGPT and they could ask it a question, right? Jasper has a little more human touch, a little more direction, right? And in the form of these things called recipes. So a recipe is kind of like it's a pre-designed prompt. It's a templated prompt, right? That basically, what we've been doing this whole time on screen is working through one of Darby's recipes for, hey, AI, write me an ebook on this idea. We're going to go from who's your market to give me a bunch of ideas to write me an outline to you have this thing at the end, right? Literally, those of you guys who are on this call, if you guys have been doing this the whole time, you honestly might have a book done by the time we're done and hang up here today. So that is the difference. That's why, again, ChatGPT is free. Go mess around with it. You can do a lot of the same stuff. You need to know what to ask. If you go to ChatGPT and try to do what we're doing here today, you need to know exactly what to ask. And you can go off the rails a little bit. You know what I mean? Something like a paid tool like Jasper. If you're going to do a paid tool, I highly recommend Jasper, is going to keep you on the rails, right? So
I think to touch on that, when and like a comparison that I heard recently, especially coming out of the Gen AI conference, is like, because Jasper does plug into OpenAI, which is the I guess like no constraints that ChatGPT is built on. And if you're looking to like build your own apps and use it for all kinds of different use cases, there's tons that you can go to that directly. Jasper also plugs into like a lot of other tools, and inside of its stack, it has multiple layers that are contributing to the type of content that you're looking at here. So it's not like it's just, there are differences there, but one distinction that I found that I think is like a really good way to look at it, like I don't expect anyone to come in and just like be able to build recipes like this right out the gate. Like I've been doing this for 2+ years. And the thing with Jasper, and like where Jasper's heading as well, is like if you want to use chat to like engineer prompts to create like really crazy like expansions on like ideas and stuff like this, then like it's still good for that and like to some degree, but it's still limited in a lot of degrees because it's only one interface right now. They've just launched a paid version of it, and it's still like uptime, downtime. Like there's limited use cases if you're going to be using it as like in a professional sense. But Jasper, we didn't really even touch on it a bunch in here today, but what the recipe that I'm working through in here that you guys are working in is also pulling in from all the dozens and dozens of templates that are very individualized inside of Jasper too, so that you don't have to think of like, what would be the way that I would like write a creative story about my experience as like an artist turned like blogger turned, successful TikToker, right? Like, well, now you don't have to come up with that prompt or command stack like wording to make it perfect and test it. the team at Jasper, myself included, I work directly with them on a lot of the product development, is like they create these recipes in these templates to do the heavy lifting on that front for you, so that you can come in, I have an idea, this is my book, this is my topic, I need a blurb, boom, that's what I got. Well, like you could go become a prompt engineer and like learn how to do all that stuff. And I think it's still a valuable thing to learn how to do, but you don't need to right now. You just need to know where to look for this stuff. And that's why we spent a year and a half writing that book and putting all those recipes together. And we've got dozens more that we didn't even include there because we're doing this on a regular basis. And so our goal is to help make it easy for you to get the outputs that you have, so you can go do more creating, do more marketing, go do more spending time with your family, right? And if you want to like learn the technical stuff, then like, there's always a place for that. But I think that's a good distinction between chat, because you're gonna have to learn how to do a lot more of the prompting and stuff like that to get better results. Whereas Jasper's already done a lot of that with these templates and recipes.
Heck yeah, for sure. Got a lot of awesome comments over there in the chat. Everybody's really enjoyed this session. I'm glad to hear that. We always love bringing you guys awesome people that are doing really awesome stuff. So again, Darby's mentioned the book, right, that he's talking about. You guys can go get. It is for free. The URL is on the screen. I'm pointing at it right over there, theauthor.com/cookbook. That's got, give the people the rundown again. Like we talked about at the very, very beginning, give the 30-second version. What is in that free download you're giving away?
Hey guys, this download is like the foundation of everything that we do at the AI Author, and really everything that we're doing, like working with Jasper. It's going to break down like how do you write a book with Jasper? How do you even approach Jasper? How does Jasper think? Like what are the different areas inside of Jasper? But we break down a whole 7-day book challenge framework where we literally helped and really literally like thousands of people using our process in this to like go from like blank page to like on the path towards published, if not publishing their own books. And it also includes dozens of recipes that are filled with these prompts and things that you can use right inside of Jasper. You can also take and apply and learn or get inspiration from the prompts to go and use inside of chat if you choose to, or other AI tools. But the goal of this book is to help you go from even like no idea about how AI works to how you can use and apply it to scale up your content in your own business, and giving you the recipes and the workflows and the prompts to help make it that much easier.
Dope. Yeah, couldn't say any better than that. I wanted to like give you the floor and like let you talk about that thing. Yeah, no, it's super clutch. You guys can get that free download again. We have, go get it. The URL is on the screen. What Darby's been doing, just breaking this stuff down here today, has been worth every second of it. And there's just more and more good stuff in there. So if you guys have questions, drop them in. We got time for probably a few more quick questions here. We got a little bit of a hard stop, a little earlier than some other sessions that we've had that have been running probably a little bit too long. One question I do see was Christian asked if that's a mandolin on the wall. So well spotted, Christian. That is a mandolin, a guitar I've had for a long time, and a ukulele. That's what's behind me. So not that has any relevance whatsoever. But here's a good question that came in. Actually, somebody who was watching, Marcus is watching from the YouTube Unlisted, right? Great content, a copywriter by trade. I participated in the 10-minute VSL with Darby and John, which is something you guys did, Darby?
I was right on that before we hopped on.
Before this? Okay, so you like just got there. Okay,
yeah.
Cool. Now I'm realizing I can be using my writing skills to write books. Can you share your expertise on marketing yourself as a copywriter? And then the end of the question got cut off, but what did it say? It said, and how to sell the books I create. So yeah, let's talk about this for a second, right? Like marketing and maybe how you can use AI to market yourself as a copywriter. You're going to sell your services, but then also what do you do with these books? Like how are you turning around and getting customers to buy into the output of what you're using AI to make?
Yeah, well, I can give like maybe a good example from one of the people from one of our earlier book challenges. Actually, Sierra. She, I guess maybe like there's a lot of marketers out there. There's a lot of copywriters out there. What's going to make you different? Well, I would start there and like, what uniqueness do you bring to the table, and like what ideas do you have that can set you apart and that you want to articulate to people that you want to bring into your phone. Like, so regardless of what industry you're in, like that would be my first suggestion. But like in Sierra's case, and how a lot, especially for like the nonfiction type of lead gen books that we see, she, I'm trying to remember the name. Her book was called Not a Sales Book. And she'd had a book in her head for a long time, never gotten around to actually writing it, and took this challenge with us. And she wrote, I was probably around 15,000 words or so. She wrote it in a couple of days. And she had her editor with her doing it at the same time. But she wanted something that she could hold as a reference to herself and her team for following a specific process, but also that she could share with her clients to educate them on like what they needed to know in terms of how she taught her process. And then that was the conversation opener to somebody that wanted to work with her at a higher level. So that being said, she wrote a book in over like a 2 to 3 day period inside of the 7-day book challenge, and then went to Amazon, uploaded it through Amazon's KDP. There's also print on demand book publishing services that like Ingram Sparks, for example, is like probably one of the biggest ones. Lulu is another one if you just want to print a physical copy of the book. But I would say if you're especially just getting your first book out there, and you need distribution, which we all do, like Amazon's like the no-brainer place to publish, and you build reviews, and it's easy to get the books printed and shipped out from there, especially if you're not like trying to like penny pinch on like making a huge margin on the book. Sierra wrote the book in like less than 2 weeks later. She was holding the book up in her hand on a live call. Somebody reached out to her and it was like, hey, I'm interested. I saw you have this book. She's like, hey, let me connect you with my person on it to get you the book. They booked a call with her salesperson, closed like a $6,800 deal because someone like was like interested. They read through her book and they got connected with her team, and that turned into business. That's one example of so many ways that experts, creators, like marketers, like putting their knowledge into the easy, bite-sized, like shorter book. It's not, we're not talking about writing a 50,000 word novel here. We're talking about writing something that speaks clearly to your avatar, solves a problem, and helps them get a goal. And that, by the nature of helping them get a result through your book, you're giving that value in advance. Alex Hormozi talks about that a lot. And then by the time they're ready to work with you, like you've done the thing in producing the content that is now like the most probably highly leveraged, whether it's a book, micro course, whatever, right? You're making the content. Now you're leveraging the time that you put into that to attract more people into your space. And then you turn those conversations into customers or clients.
Heck yeah.
That's what you're looking for.
Yep. Love that. Absolutely. Yeah. Connor asks, could you mention the print service again?
Yeah. So Amazon KDP is like the most popular, like in terms of distribution as well.
Yep.
But Ingram Sparks is like the other heavy hitter outside of Amazon. They can help with distributing your books to other platforms and getting you physical copies printed that you can give away at events, things like that. And you can also sell them on your website. Lulu was the other one, another really popular one.
Yeah, one we've had a lot of success with too is called Vervante. So it's Vervante is how it's called, Vervante.
Okay, cool.
And so a lot of Sam Cart's creators who are printing and shipping their own books, they're selling free plus shipping offers. They are handling it, that type of stuff. Vervante is what they use to print and ship. But Lulu, another great one. What was the Amazon? What was it? Amazon with K what?
KDP. Yeah. And right. Something to be aware of with Amazon, and like this is like a good, I just saw a comment on here, heard Amazon rejects a book written with AI. Well, Amazon's going to do their own and vetting books, and we're doing it, and they're saying that they don't want a bunch of just junk books being written with AI, which like I've already seen them. Like people are going to post junk books written with AI like all the time. I will say like even my first like book, like it was my first book. It's the very first time going into the whole process. Like I did edit it and I had people looking through it and everything. It wasn't perfect. It did what I needed to do at that time. And I used Amazon to get it out there and distribute it. But if I were to do that same exact book now, I would probably just set up like a super simple book funnel on my website if I was sending people to it and then just print and deliver it there. But I literally didn't even know all of this stuff existed. I was like, Amazon makes it easy. Right. Get it out there. And that book still did turn into like a few new clients for me as a result, because I could send them to people, they read it, they referred it, and it's like, okay, that's how this kind of works. Now let's figure out how to like level up our process, which is what we've been doing the last 2 years.
Yep. Doing this process, right? And before we get to Jade's question, but doing this process that we've been covering on this call, right? Writing a book, creating a mini course or whatever, right? Creating this piece of content, however it is that you want to deliver it, is the ultimate way to establish your guys' authority on a topic. You know what I mean? If you have created something about this, you know something about this, right? I'm a pretty okay golfer, like, and I mean that like as not good, like I'm like good golfers, and then there's okay, and I'm pretty okay, like, you know what I mean? But if I went and wrote a book that's like, here's how I break down Jordan Spieth or Tiger Woods swing or something like that, right? All of a sudden, to the world, you have a level of authority and credibility that you would not have had otherwise, right? So having this on your own, the act of making this kind of content, and of course, we just shown you how you could do this. You could do this once a week if you wanted to. Like, it's crazy how fast you could spin this stuff up. Is itself a form of marketing, right? And a lot of Sam Cart's top creators lead with a book like this, a really good ebook like type, like something like this is very, very, very common, right? And it's also super common to, yeah, basically take what you've created, make a page that sells it on Samcart, and that's it. And it's like, I'm on social media, you click the link in my bio, you go to a page on Samcart that, hey, here's the book and go buy it. And like, that's their whole business. You know what I mean? Like it can be that simple. And it can be that simple for you guys too. So, okay, cool. We've got just a couple more minutes. We got a couple of questions we want to get to. I was going to say, let's bring Jade's question is still up on the screen. Let's do this one. Is there a percentage you versus AI that you're shooting for in an end product?
I mean, AI can generate content all day, every day. I mean, ultimately, it's going to come down to like, is this something that you would say at the end of the day?
Mhm.
And like, are you vetting it? Are you choosing? Are you letting the AI just do all the thinking for you, and then it's really like not being authentic at that
Right.
point? Versus like the collaboration is like, think of like the 80-20 principle, right? Like AI can still do 80% of the writing if you're doing 20% of the thinking that's
Right.
directing the AI to write in a lot like more alignment with where you're wanting to go.
Mhm.
And like so much of that comes to the outlining, the researching, the
Yep.
bringing in the facts, bringing in the stories. Because if you're writing a book, like one of the best ways to like show use cases inside of each chapter is to like highlight case studies,
Tell stories.
real world
Yeah, for
examples,
sure.
bringing in your own experience. Like if you're just making up everything with AI and putting it out there, then like that's probably going to come back to you and probably not the greatest way, whenever people realize that like none of these stories actually were your own and you were trying to say they were. I
Yeah,
mean, like
right.
think about it from like a lens of like, are you being like really true and authentic to yourself and doing this stuff?
Mhm.
And then leveraging AI to help with the writing process, but you are ultimately still the one that's choosing what words are going to go out there or not. And
Right.
so you got to be that, you got to, know what you're going to let out or what not.
Heck yeah, for sure. Veterans of the show will know what this is. This is the Profit Playbook. We wrote this. When I say we, I pretty much mean me. And there's not an ounce of AI in this entire thing. It is just a whole bunch of stories from Sam Cart's database about how it's 53 individual kind of strategies and stories of just like cool e-commerce strategies that are making people more money. I probably could have written 80% of this with AI and then just injected the stories. You know what I mean? Like I could have done a lot more. I could have saved myself and probably had months of time back. And it took a freaking long ass time to write. And it still would have been every ounce is authentic, every ounce of me, inside of it, whatever. So yeah, the one thing to keep track of, and we always feel like we need to mention it when we're talking about AI stuff, is the term is watermarking, is the term that Google has given it. Google, I mean, by extension, like Bing and, whatever, like search engines are actively out there investing in teams and resources and tools that are looking for purely AI generated content, right? And they are discrediting some of that stuff in search results. Google just last week basically came out and said, like, okay, we're not just erasing it off the internet. Like it's not that bad, right? But at the end of the day, they're looking for good content. They don't necessarily care that AI was used. They care that AI did all of it, right? And that they call it watermarking. Is AI leaves a watermark, a thumbprint, right? If all you're doing is copying and pasting from AI, right, and doing no kind of original work, like Darby was mentioning, that can start to stand out. And there are tools out there that are going to make that happen and ding you for it, essentially. So, guys, we got time for one more question. Again, one more time, leave some love for Darby in the chat. Go over in the chat and just give us another hell yes. Let us know what your big takeaway was. Always love kind of sharing that with everybody afterwards. But we'll go ahead and just leave this with one more question. Let's see. We had a couple
Do
more coming
ads.
in. Let's do. Okay, cool. We'll do this one from Ed. Right. How would
Yeah.
you use Jasper to make corrections in a book you have completed? Good question.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. That's a really perfect use case for where Jasper like comes into being able to assist. And some people never really write the first draft with Jasper. I'm just telling you, they'll take podcast transcripts, things like that. They'll take the transcript from it, they'll upload that into Jasper, and they'll use Jasper to help with modifying the content. Let's say, Scott, you wanted to go and do a second edition of that book. You have all
Right.
the stories. You're saying, man,
Yep.
we could really spice up the introductions to these stories. Well, you can copy the content from a story in, then tell Jasper, hey, based on the story above, write a compelling introduction that introduces the story from the perspective of X, Y, or Z, and using this type of like, analogy that leads into it. Well, now Jasper can then write that introduction based on something you've already printed, and maybe even improve like how people are like reading that chapter of a book. Same thing goes with any chapter. You could rewrite paragraphs, expand on paragraphs, write the key highlights from this book that I can use as action points in my conclusion chapter because my action points weren't very good. And Jasper can help you with doing that. So
Heck yeah.
There's so many ways beyond just writing from scratch that Jasper can be utilized in this process, and that making corrections and edits after content's already been produced is a huge time saver as well, especially if you're doing interviews,
For
YouTube
sure.
videos, blog, like that type of stuff.
For sure. Absolutely love that. Awesome. Well, Darby, appreciate it, boss. It was absolutely outstanding. I'm going to throw this back up here one more time. The AIauthor.com/cookbook. Guys, go get that book. We'll include that link when we kind of email out the replay for everybody who wasn't with us live and all that stuff. You guys can go get that free book. It's got a ton of awesome recipes and just a ton of great info to get you guys kind of kicked into this world of AI and how to use it very quickly, right? It's a really great shortcut to start producing more content, to start, producing stuff that your audience is going to fall in love with, right? And so whether that's a mini offer like we're talking about here, whether that's a book, whether that turns into a Twitter thread or whatever, right? That's really what we're here to do is help you guys multiply your efforts, right? And get better results out there in the world. So, Darby, really appreciate the time, man. This was outstanding. A lot of love in the chat. We'll send some your way there in a little bit, but everybody go check out the AIauthor.com/cookbook. Really appreciate the time, and everybody we'll see you guys in the next edition of Creator U Live.